All right, you guys, welcome into another One Piece video. So, the spoilers dropped a day early. They dropped yesterday, mind you. In case you have not read the spoilers for yourself, though, yet, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment, as well as typing it out piece by piece, so that you can check it out there, or you can just go watch the previous video. But today, since we have this odd day in between the brief spoilers and the full spoilers, I want to take a step back and read through the comment section of yesterday's video to see what everybody thinks about that freaking insane Rocks, Xebec, and Blackbeard reveal. I want to see what the talk of the town is. What are the popular theories? What are the main takeaways, man? I want to see it all. So that is what we're here to do. So without further ado, let's hop right in to the comment section. Alright, so the top comment is actually me, myself, and I, so we're going to skip that one and go to the next one. And they say, Whitebeard had the sons of Roger and Xebec calling him dad. Yeah, dude. Whitebeard was just that guy. You know, Whitebeard was cooking up something nasty in that crew. Dude, if Blackbeard never turned coat, if Ace didn't die, and if Whitebeard wasn't sick, that crew would be kind of unstoppable. I'm not going to lie, dude. That'd be a crazy crew. What do their replies say? That is why he is the GOAT. Yo, that's hilarious. Yeah. Whitebeard is nuts, man. He is the father that everybody wants. Ace versus Blackbeard is now an insane parallel. Yeah, I mean, what? Their fathers fought, they were rivals in the past, and now here we have it. Ace is over here fighting Blackbeard. I mean, hell, even past the fight, we talked about how Ace took his mother's last name, and apparently that's what Blackbeard did too, right? That is why we never made that connection in the past. It's because we knew his name was Marshall D. Teach. You know, it's not Rocks D. Teach. So something was going on there. You know, I do wonder if Blackbeard was intentionally hiding his Rocks D. Xebec lineage, or if Blackbeard truly does just like his mom so much, he took her name. Which I don't think is the case, because hell, like I said, he named his ship after his dad, and he took over his dad's island and rebuilt Rocky Port. So there's no way in my mind, at least, that Blackbeard actually hates his dad. I mean, dude, even their dreams are the same. You know, Rocks wanted to take over the world, apparently, and that is what Blackbeard wants to do. So yeah, I think Blackbeard might have just been trying to hide his lineage. Maybe there is a case where Whitebeard didn't know that he had the son of Rocks there, but Blackbeard, you know, was over there in the corner just rubbing his hands, you know, just waiting for his time to shine. Which now makes me wonder even harder. Why did Blackbeard want the Yami Yami no Mi specifically? With how many connections there are between Blackbeard and Rocks D. Xebec, I wouldn't be shocked if Rocks also had the Yami Yami no Mi, which was a very popular theory back in the past. But now that we have this, I think that theory gets like a 10% boost. Next comment, they say, Roger rolling in his grave after his son lost to Xebec's son. Bro, yeah. If I was Roger, man, I'd be so disappointed. I mean, you know Roger's probably a good dad. He probably wouldn't care that much, but dude, I'd be a little bit salty. You know Xebec's up there in hell or heaven just saying, haha, Roger, we gotcha. My son's better than yours. This somehow raises the Garp hostage stakes even more. The Blackbeard Revenge Tour is in full swing. Yep. I mean, we had Whitebeard, we had Shanks, we had Ace. Who is next? I wouldn't be surprised if he goes after Miss Bokkins even, right? Imagine that. Hell, maybe if Kaido and Big Mom survive, Blackbeard could go after them, right? They survived the volcano, but they're not going to survive Blackbeard. And then, with the whole Garp thing, Garp being at God Valley and playing a role in Rocks' defeat, ooh, it's not looking good for Garp, man. It is not looking good for Garp. And then, of course, I do wonder, right? They mentioned that Rocks D. Xebec took down a former admiral, an admiral 56 years ago. If that admiral has a relative within the Marines today, maybe that Marine has a vendetta against Blackbeard. Maybe Blackbeard has a vendetta against that Marine even. You know, he's like, hey, my father killed an admiral. I gotta do it too, right? He's essentially following in his dad's footsteps 1-to-1. So I would not be shocked if he does go after an admiral. Maybe Garp counts as like a 2-for-1. All right, because he's a vice admiral, but he's essentially an admiral anyways, right? People consider him one all the time. So maybe this is a 2-for-1, but I think it would be interesting if he goes after Green Bull or Fujitora or Kizaru or maybe even a Kainu, dude. That'd be nuts. Comments say, true LMAO, he's killed Roger, he scarred Shanks, oh yeah, Garling. It's funny, when I think about Shanks, I normally associate him with Roger, but you're right, Garling, and he was a prime figure at God Valley. He's got Garp hostage, which of course is Garp, which is hilarious. Garp is cooked. If he couldn't beat Aokiji, he definitely cannot beat Blackbeard. I do wonder, man, if Blackbeard goes down to Garp and interrogates him or talks to him, will Garp be able to put it together? Would Garp look at Blackbeard and say, oh, you remind me of a pirate back then. Ooh, that'd be fire. And I also wonder, like, if Garp actually knows the truth about Blackbeard off rip, because Garp was one of the few characters that knew that Ace was actually Roger's son. So maybe Garp doubles up and he actually knows that Blackbeard all this time was Rocks Xebec's son as well. Wouldn't be shocked, brother. Wouldn't be shocked. This one says, it doesn't matter who your parents are. We're all children of the sea. Whitebeard. Yep. And again, this kind of doubles back to the whole Whitebeard maybe not caring that Blackbeard was Rocks' son. This one says, Blackbeard came from Xebec's saber. Dude, that's actually kind of fire. I like that. Yeah. Blackbeard's ship is called the Saber of Xebec, and Blackbeard came from that saber. My guy. This is literally insane. I cannot wait for the full chapter release. Now, me too. Dude, I'm excited. You know, they said that Xebec has two-tone hair, and I feel like on one end, that could be really freaking cool, but on the other end, I'm like, ooh, I hope he doesn't look like a clown. You know, I hope they don't, like, do the old T hair tone. You know, I hope it's not, like, split down the middle. I don't know. I feel like Oda's gonna cook with them. Like, I'm not worried about Rocks' design. I mean, dude, we're talking about, like, one of the legends of One Piece. He's not gonna look like a bozo. But just hearing the description of him, right, two-toned hair, I'm like, wait, what is that gonna look like, brother? What is that gonna look like? Blackbeard's ship is called the Saber of Xebec. Now, imagine if Xebec's sword is called Blackbeard or Teach, which parallels Roger's sword, Ace. I like that. No, there's actually a brilliant comment. I mean, at this point, you know, some people get sick of all the parallels of One Piece, but Oda's gonna Oda, right? Oda's been doing this for, like, I think 2 decades at this point, almost 3 decades. He loves his parallels. So yeah, Xebec having a sword named Teach to parallel Roger. A1, dude. A1 theory right there. Rocks, murking an admiral, explains how he was able to have such a stacked crew. Yeah, dude. Woo, that is a first feat right there. That is a first feat. We have not had an admiral die in the story yet. Unless you count Zephyr, but Zephyr's a little bit different, right? It was like Admiral versus Admiral, and then Zephyr wanted to die anyways. But yeah, this is the first confirmed canon dead Admiral in the series. And I think that speaks volumes on his character. You know, no longer will we see the Rocks Xebec is a fraud theory floating around the community. Which is funny because when we had the Loki chapter and, you know, Rocks was over here stabbing Loki in the back, people were still calling him a fraud. You know, it was a minority. But people still doubted Rocks' potential. You know, they said, oh, maybe he asked Whitebeard to stab Loki. And it's like, okay, guys, what are we doing here, right? What are we doing? There's no way. But yeah, now without a shadow of a doubt, we know Rocks is that guy. You know, no more theories about him being a loser. Literally started lifting after seeing the spoilers. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, you know. I don't start lifting after reading spoilers, but after I'm done making these videos and after I'm done talking about the chapter, I'm like, man, I gotta go outside or something, you know? I gotta take a walk, man. I gotta take a walk. Rocks, being Blackbeard's father, is actually peak cinema. It makes events from the past even more meaningful than before, and it sets up so much for the future. This is truly the best story ever told, better than Star Wars, better than Lord of the Rings, better than Marvel, and everything. One thing I'm curious about with Blackbeard and Rocks, you know, just kind of spinning off of this comment, but Van Augur and Devon, when they were talking to Saturn, they talked about Blackbeard's special lineage. Was that special lineage solely his connection to Rocks Xebec? Or are we saying that Blackbeard is still a member of like a special hidden tribe? Kind of like how we learned about the Buccaneers on Egghead. Maybe Blackbeard is another race akin to the Buccaneers. I still think that's very plausible. I don't think the Rocks reveal here explains what Saturn, Van Augur, and Devon were talking about. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. And if Blackbeard is a special tribesman, is Rocks also special as well? Or does Blackbeard get this from his mom? And also, we know that Blackbeard has a special quirk where he cannot sleep. Don't forget, guys, Blackbeard never sleeps. That is why, for the longest time, before we had, like, you know, Blackbeard is Rocks' son theories popping up, people did theorize that Blackbeard has two souls in his body. You know, that's why Blackbeard can't sleep, because the other soul takes over. So, does Rocks have that same quirk? Is Rocks potentially another character that cannot sleep? Or is that a Blackbeard exclusive thing? I don't know, man. You know, there's a lot of things we gotta start questioning now. And also, you know, sorry, one more thing, but did Rocks have two devil fruits? You know, was Rocks the one who first started the two devil fruit thing, and then Blackbeard just, I don't know, read Rocks' journal and just took over? So many doors just open up. A Blackbeard killing his dad's ops, sons, and crew members. Yeah, shout outs to Blackbeard, man. Hey, Blackbeard's kind of going like John Wick out there, man. I can't hate it. I can't hate it. Yo, Saturn mentioned Blackbeard's lineage on Egghead. They knew he was connected to Rocks. Oh, look at that. Look, we just talked about that one right there, man. My theory is that the admiral who Rocks killed was actually Akainu's dad. Ooh. And his death served as a motivation to become a Marine and is also the cause of his absolute justice. Akainu is 55 in the current timeline, and Rocks killed his father a year before he was born. So it matches up for the most part. This is a stretch, but I'm all here for it. Me too, brother. Me too. And I saw somebody say this in the comment section. I don't know if we'll get to it. I don't know where it's at. But they said One Piece is moving like a telenovela with how many characters are related. And I don't hate it. You know, when you really think about it, this is one of the best ways for Oda to flesh out characters he wouldn't have fleshed out in the past. Blackbeard would have always gotten this treatment, but let's say Rocks did kill an admiral who was related to one of the OG three, whether it's Kizaru, Kuzan, or Akainu. If that is the case, that would be some great backstory. That could explain their justice, why they joined the Marines, and just why they hate pirates so much. I think that would be beautiful. And yeah, dude, if there is a connection to Akainu, or even Kuzan or Kizaru, that'd be peak. That'd be a great way to tie it all in, man. That'd be a great way. Holy guacamole. What a way to start that. Holy guacamole, Galley La is presumably the clan the Sea Kings back in Fishman Island we're talking about, as the only ones capable of repairing the Noah's Ark. And now we find out that they were kidnapped by the world government. So it really looks like we're getting a parallel to the Skypiea residents being kidnapped by Enel to build... Oh! Yeah, that is a parallel. Yeah, Skypiean residents being captured to build Enel's Ark. Wow. I didn't even think about that. They probably built either the ancient weapon itself or a carrier ship for it, and Emu just used it to nuke Lelucia. Also, they were certainly the founders of the Galley La Company, so they probably built at least one ancient weapon in the past and also passed the Pluton blueprints down within the company through generations. I'd be shocked if Emu isn't using them to build an ancient weapon. Yeah. I mean, the thing is too, right? Galley La had the Pluton blueprints, but the thing is that these ancient giants, man, you know, considering how long ago this was and how old they might be, I wouldn't be shocked if they had Uranus blueprints, maybe even pseudo Poseidon blueprints, you know, something to combat the Sea Kings. Like, it would be really cool if we get to the final war and Luffy and his gang show up with 3 ancient weapons, right? Uranus, Pluton, and Poseidon, and then Emu has the mechanical counterparts to them, like, oh, the anti-Poseidon, you know, the anti-Pluton, the anti-Uranus. That'd be kind of sick. Maybe that's too much, right? Maybe we're getting too insane by saying that, but I do think it's a pretty cool idea. Buggy, you are not the sun. Yeah, the Rocks D Buggy theories are dead, man. That's crazy. The thing is, though, is that I still believe that Buggy has special lineage because of his nose, but we just don't know where it's at right now, right? The Rocks theory got killed, but there's still a lot of other Buggy theories out there. And the reason why Buggy has to have special lineage is because of his nose. You know, if you guys do not know, his nose is genuinely real. So at the very least, Buggy is from a special tribe, but we could go even farther than that if we really want to push it. This one says, Whitebeard said, we're all children of the sea. I do not care who your father is. Yeah, that is true. Don't forget, in an SBS, it was stated Blackbeard would be an archaeologist if he wasn't a pirate. So, even though Blackbeard was only 2 years old at the time of his father's death, it's possible he came across records of his dad whilst growing up and was just in awe, so he decided to follow in his footsteps. Yep, that could be the case. And also, we don't know much about Blackbeard's mom. Like, imagine if Blackbeard's mom is the one who caused him to go crazy, to go rocks crazy. Like, Blackbeard's mom is just like, hey, your father was a great man. You need to be like your father. Until you're like your father, I'm kicking you out of the house. Your father did this, he did that. He was a great pirate. And I think that could be part of the reason why Blackbeard, of course, is all about Roxy Xebec here. Despite possibly not knowing his father at all, right? Blackbeard was 2 years old by the time his dad died. Was there much bonding in that 2-year time span? I don't think so. It really does feel like Rox got somebody pregnant and he left. You know, he was gone right away, like a true pirate. Rox was probably a king who injured or killed a celestial dragon, and then a admiral had to come and Rox killed him. Oh, yeah, no, this is a good theory, because I was wondering why the admiral would even fight Rox in the first place if Rox was a king who attended the reverie. But it could be this right here. You know, Rox attended the reverie, and then later on, he fought a celestial dragon. He touched a celestial dragon. And then, of course, we know for a fact that an admiral does get sent if you injure one of those guys. So that could be it right there. This one says, the Xebec and Blackbeard reveal is literally two of the biggest mysteries - questions answered. Yep. I legit got chills when I read about Blackbeard. We are truly in the end game now. Goal D Ace, Rocks D Teach, the only one left. Norona D Mihawk, dude. Norona D Mihawk, huh? Hey, I don't like getting too in the sauce with theories, but I do believe, if I had to put the chips down on the table, I do think Mihawk is a celestial dragon. I think that's maybe where Mihawk and Shanks started their rivalry even, up in the Holy Land, brother. When I read it on Reddit, I lost my shit so loud. Thank goodness I don't have neighbors. This is so hype. I cannot wait to see the chapter. This is the first time I've read spoilers and been so excited. I've spam called people game changer. I like to imagine you call people who don't read One Piece, which, by the way, that's one of the main reasons why I make these post-game videos too. Because in my real life, I do not have any friends who are up to date with One Piece. Like, none of them read One Piece, they're more casual, they watch other animes, like short seasonal animes, and I don't blame them. I think that's totally fair. But yeah, I love making these videos because it's like, yo, we're all chatting about our favorite series here, man. No holds bar. So how long have we been going? We've been going for a minute. This will be the last comment. Apologies if I couldn't get to you guys down there. This one says, the Goldie Roger x Roxy Xebec and Monkey D. Luffy x Marshall D. Teach parallels are finally true. The decades of predicting Xebec to be Blackbeard's dad has also come true on top of finally fully revealing Rox's face. This also means that Frankie is going to be integral, since he also has the blueprints of Pluton memorized and we're on Elbaf, the birthplace of Pluton. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, if the ancient giants were from Elbaf, and if they were the founders of Galley-La, then yeah, technically Pluton is where it originated from. And also, it puts even more emphasis on the fact that Harold visited Wano, because that's where Pluton's currently being held at. This also means that Noah was probably created by ancient giants too, and there's a giant straw hat in Marie Joie. Chapter of the year candidate, Oda is cooking AF. Yeah, I've seen people saying that the giant straw hat comes from the ancient shipwrights, and I don't think that's awful. I think that is a pretty good candidate. It's right up there with, like, Joy Boy's hat. I think that is pretty solid. But yep, that is what we're going to call it, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really freaking appreciate it. Thank you for all the comments, man. Of course, we wouldn't be able to make this video without you guys. So thank you for that. And I'll see y'all tomorrow, man. I'll see y'all when we get the full spoiler drop. Until then, though, you guys take care, stay safe, and have a great rest of your day, brother.